Okay, so welcome to the second session. It's the English session. I'm Pili from the Chinese University of Hong Kong. So the slide is already online. You can go to my homepage, myfullname.net, and here is the link. Okay, so let's get to the talk. So my topic is about IndieWeb. First, I want to share some links. Usually for more information to the last slides, but here I put it as the first. The reason is I'm also new to IndieWeb. I only joined there for 3 months, but this is like a 3-year movement already. So my purpose here is to share my preliminary experience with you, and then hopefully we can find more people to explore together. So if you want to find more information, you can go to the IndieWeb camp wiki. I think this is the primary source for all kinds of resources related to IndieWeb. And also you can join the IRC channel. This is the most immediate response where you can get. Okay, so what is the IndieWeb? This is the abbreviation for independent web. Okay. But before we go to the technical details, let me first share some personal experience, very unhappy experience with you. So how many of you have used Google Plus? Yeah, so many of you are Google Plus users. So this is the screenshot I take several days before. But if you remember the registration form 2 years ago, that looks like this. Here you must input your birthday, so including year. Okay, and this is a very dangerous field. Why? Because at that time, I already have Gmail account and I want to open Google Plus. Then Google asked me, okay, so input some basic information. And I think, okay, birthday is not important. Who will input the real birthday, right? So I just input some random birthday. You do this everywhere or forums, but there's no problem. But this time, actually something happens. Google said, okay, you are under 13 years old. You cannot use Google Plus. So that's the first time I know, okay, there is such a law like this. But this is no big deal, right? If you don't allow me to use Google Plus, we'll just throw Google Plus into the recycle. It's okay, I don't use Google Plus. But the real problem is that they also block my Gmail, block my Google Doc, so many things else. I think probably many of you use Google Handle to log in some small services, right? Those small forums, you don't want to register in another account, so you use your Google Handle. But this time, because the Google Handle is blocked, so you can not go anywhere. I really lost everything, so I'm very sad. Okay, Google, please give back my account. But things are not so easy. How to get it back? First you should write a formal statement, say how I make this mistake and who I am. I'm really above 13 years old. This is just like something you write during your primary school, asking for the forgiveness of your teacher. Right? And then you should take a photo scan of your ID card. Furthermore, put this into an envelope and mail this to the headquarters. Mail, not email. So you know from Mainland to the US it takes 1 month. But I'm really urgent to use all the resources. I'm using this Gmail account to apply for Chinese university. So yeah, it's very dangerous. But luckily, at last I found some friend in Google, so they helped me to deliver and get this resolved in several days. But if you are an ordinary user, probably you are really doomed if you have some urgent task. So let's see what's the problem. So I really learned something from this experience. So the first thing is I should carefully in the future, right? I cannot be too young, so I can input some random string like this. But this one is still not good, right? I would rather use something like the second line. Why? Because I'm really afraid that someday they say, okay, we don't provide service for the so I really have to input very carefully first day. But that's just a joke. Okay. So I think there are many such kind of unhappy experience between users and service providers. If you are interested, you can go to this IndieWeb camp. There is a why. So this web page actually collects many real-life cases. So where user lost their blog post, images, photos, all kinds of things. So you can go there to check out more. But the real cause behind this thing is we are not independent enough. Okay. So first is identity. We rely on Google to provide us the identity, or sometimes you rely on other big service providers. Second one is data. So I will talk about the two parts separately. Okay. First one is identity. So identity is the question about who am I? Okay. Now you can use, there are many open authorization or authentication protocols company widely used. So you can use, okay, I am Pili on GitHub, or I am Pili on Twitter. So those are handles, just like the previous case. I am Pili at Gmail or something. Okay, so those are your account identities. You use them to log in everywhere. But this is not very good. Just like the previous case, if they block this account, then you cannot go anywhere. So why not? I just try to be me. So I am this one, Pili.net. This domain name, because I buy it, I pay for it. So I have the possession of it. So if I log in everywhere, use this one, actually it will be very good. But even if those big guys, they block my accounts, then I still can use my identity. Right, so here is a demo. Let's see whether we can play with it. Hopefully the network is okay. This is the IndieWeb camp wiki. Then here is the sign in with your domain. Now not sign in with your Google, sign in with your GitHub, but sign in with your domain. Okay. So here I input my domain. So I will sign in as this guy. Then this will be redirect. Actually, many things already happened. Later I will show you the flow that happened in the background. Now you can choose several verifiers. For example, I choose this GitHub. Because GitHub, they have awards for enabled. So I go to GitHub. Okay, here's the IndieWeb wants my authorization. Just allow. Okay, so something happens. I will also explain later. So now you see, he is not logged in with your domain but edit. So I'm already logged in. I can edit. And when I edit, I will use my identity, Pili.net. So that will be my username, but not my handle on GitHub or Twitter. But what you see just now, those are just several verifiers logging in. Those are just some verifiers help you to verify that you are indeed the owner of that domain. So if one day GitHub block my account, that's totally okay. I can log in using Twitter. If one day Twitter also block my account, I can also log in using Google Authenticator. Even if they all block my account, I still have the way because I can establish something on my own server. Here, just for convenience purpose, I use their services. But no matter what is the verifier I use, I am all the same, one identity that is Pili.net. So that's very convenient. Okay, we just finished the demo of IndieWeb. Then I can skip those screenshots. This is just in case. Okay, so let's see how to set up. Before I talk about the flow, I tell you how to set up this one. It's also very simple. Here there are 5 parties. The IndieWeb wiki, me as the user, and Pili.net. This is the identity I want to use, and one verifier help me to verify the identity GitHub. And this IndieWeb is some bridge between these stuffs. And what you need to set up is just 2 things: identity provider and identity verifier. And you just want to associate them together. It's very simple. From identity provider, you just input some HTML tag, this A tag. Here is one attribute, will me. Will is used to, this attribute is used to denote what's the relationship between the current page and the page this link is pointed to. So will me means, okay, this GitHub profile, this one GitHub profile is me. Okay. And on this identity verifier, you still have to do something. Put another will me link. Okay, so from this job profile, you will point back to my website. Say, okay, that one is really me. So they are associated together. You can use that for verify. To be more concrete, this is my homepage. This is my HTML source. You can see just several lines. you have put all your verifiers here, and this is my GitHub. After you input your profile, the website in your profile, you will see something like this. GitHub already put this me here. Not all service providers support this real me notation, but I think more and more providers are becoming to accept this. Okay. So now you already know that, okay, IndieWeb is some very convenient way for you to log in many other websites just as yourself. And the setup is super easy, just two links, static page, no dynamic things. Then let's see the flow, because when I operate, you know something happens. So here is something. First, I go to the IndieWeb wiki, say, okay, I want to log in. And the IndieWeb wiki tell me, okay, go to IndieWeb because we use this to, okay, because we use IndieWeb to authenticate you. Okay, then I go to IndieWeb, say I want to log in as that Pili.net, and for IndieWeb, it will check the relationship between the provider and the verifier, so that data can use. Okay, then you first scan Pili.net, that's my home page, and my home page will help him just via some real meetings. Okay, those are my verifiers, you can use them. Then you also go to GitHub. Here I do not show Twitter or Google Authenticator, just use GitHub as an example. You go to GitHub to scan. As I already show you, from my profile of GitHub, I have a real meeting link back to my domain. So up to this point, IndieWeb will know, okay, this identity provider and identity verifier, they are associated together. So I can tell the user, okay, now you can use GitHub to log in. So this is the first part. And the second part, you see I was redirected to GitHub, so that was just some ordinary OAuth flow. I think many of you already use the OAuth, right, to log in different services and use different applications, so I will omit the details. So basically, OAuth is just some three-party protocol. So after this protocol, IndieWeb will know, okay, that guy already have the position of this GitHub profile. And in the previous step, he already knows these two are associated together. So this IndieWeb can give me some token. So okay, take this back. This is like some proof showing that you are really you. And then I take this token back to IndieWeb wiki, then I'm logging. Although the flow looks complicated, so many steps, but you already see that the setup just two links, and you can log in as you wherever. Okay, so the comparison, I think many of you already heard of those other projects. Actually, those projects also help you to take back your identity. Those are the open authorization or open authentication stuffs. I have only used OpenID and OAuth, so I only compare with them. Webfinger and Person, I only heard of them, but I don't have hands-on experience, so I will not compare with them. Okay, compare with OAuth and OpenID. First, this is a three-party and a four-party protocol, and IndieWeb is actually five-party, as I illustrated in the figures. And this real-me setup is very simple. If you, so how many of you have tried OpenID? Anyone? Okay, so compared with this real-me setup, do you feel this simpler flow? Yeah, of course, for me, the first time I see this, I thought really simple, just two links. But for OpenID, the setup, you can still using only a few links, but it's more than two, at least. Okay. And also, I think the more attractive feature of IndieWeb is that because it is just the bridge between ID provider and ID verifier, so it is open to future verification methods. So it is not restricted to OAuth from GitHub or OAuth from Twitter. It can support some Google Authenticator and even short message as somebody is already using. So there are more auth choices and one upcoming. Okay, so here I want to show you what's the benefit of the separation between ID provider and ID verifier. Because this separation introduces more parties and it makes the flow become more complex. However, there are some benefits. So some of you may know this MyOpenID. Probably this is the most popular providers or verifiers of OpenID, and it just announced that it will shut down shortly, just several months later. But with the separation of ID profiler and ID verifier, it is very good. You have less risk of losing your identity. Say I can log in using my own domain, Pili.net. Even if GitHub shut down its service or Twitter shut down its service, I still have other ways. Just my verifier becomes different, but my identity is the same. So the separation will be very important. Okay. Then the second part is about the data. So here are several objectives. In the previous example, you know my Gmail account got blocked, so I cannot access my email. I cannot access my other data. So here are some objectives to become independent. First, what we want to guarantee is no data loss. At least you can get them back in some way. Second is for your own data, you have some convenient way to disseminate, and also have some way to collect others' information. So why this is important? Because the web, I think it is evolving into a social web paradigm, right? It's not interesting if you just put something alarm somewhere and you have full possession of that as well. But you still want to share with people and you want to get information from other people. So this is important. And there are some more further objectives, but I will just skip them. Okay, so let's see how to meet the first objective, that is guarantee no data loss. So currently, many people are using this kind of open source projects. So how many of you have used at least one of them? Yeah, so at least I think you already meet the first objective. There is no data loss because they are very convenient for you to do regular backup, right? So it's unlike, say, you post some blog on Facebook and later they close your account, then you lose that post. But on WordPress, you can get back because you have your own backup. But it just solves the first thing. Posting alone is not interesting. What we want to address is how to disseminate information and how to acquire more information. So connect with each other. Why social network is interesting is because we can connect with each other. Okay, so here are three models proposed by IndieWeb camp. I will skip the verbal description because I also think those names are not very convenient. They are too long. Just some graphical illustration. So first, the post model proposed by these people is okay. First, you post on your own silo, then you forward these messages to existing social networks. So where you can share with your friends. Okay, this is one first model. Second model is you first post on those social network sites where you interact with your friends, and then you synchronize your data back. So in both ways, you have the possession of your data. You don't lose them, right? And third one is I cannot pronounce this one, but the idea is just post on one third-party social networking services and go forward it to another social network services. So those are just some existing models. Actually, you can propose more models. It's just rewrite between those entities. Okay, so the current landscape is, according to the IndieWeb camp wiki, there are already a dozen of reports of post model. And I think even if you are not in IndieWeb properly, you have already used this kind of model because many people post the status on their WordPress or Drupal and synchronize to these sites. So that's also one reason I want to share here is because IndieWeb is not to say invent totally new things. Because you are already part of the movement, but you just don't know it. So I want to get more people involved in. If you have more fancy projects, just come and showcase here. Okay. And for the second P2, there are only two reports, and P3 are the reports. As I mentioned, you can check those links for many related projects. And the fancy thing is that everyone has his own implementation. So many people, actually many IndieWeb participants, they are previously also authors of, say, content management systems or blogging systems. So after they see this, okay, so let's just implement this model on my ARM system. So everyone has his own implementation. So in what follows, I will introduce one of my ARM projects that is to help you conveniently operate data between different services. Okay, so this is called SNS API. The name is intuitive, just API for social networking services. It is too plain, and we don't have logo. It's a social networking middleware written in Python. So you can click install or just use clone. The design principle is actually user-oriented because nowadays we already have so many social networks and many traditional communication channels. But it's not very convenient for a single user to operate them, especially for those who don't have time to read different documentations, right? So we make it lightweight so that you can get up and run very quickly. For so many websites, we unify their interfaces and data structures. This is to enable programmable social networking. So I will use just one example to show you what I mean by programmable social networking. Okay, so here is the real code, not pseudo code. So it's just so simple. With several lines, you can back up your data on Ren. Ren is a social network in mainland China. So first 4 lines are just some preambles, just like as you write any other programs, there are some necessary overhead. Here is, okay, you read the timeline from Ren. Here you return a list of messages. Then you iterate over the message list and update this status on another channel, which is configured as ScircleLite. So in that case, you can constantly get message from Ren right into ScircleLite. So this is how to make backup. And the beautiful thing is this operation interfaces and data structures are already unified upon this middleware for all of them. So not only automatic backup, but also automatic forwarding and automatic forwarding plus some intelligent mining rules. All are possible because we are developers. Given this interface, you can do whatever you want. Then I will skip this conceptual architecture because I suppose I don't have too much time. Okay. So demo I will also skip it, but you can find those links from my slides. It's just one item, and I highly recommend this SageMax Cloud. This one provides you free VMs, and just with just one line, then you get all the environment downloaded. And we already configured several channels with our own credentials, so you can immediately play around, say like getting status and update, forward, many things. Just on this, you can follow the instructions here. Okay. So here I share with you my personal experience of how I play with my data between so many social silos. So here are the different social networking service providers. This is a router. Actually, it's an app built upon my middleware. It's an API. Okay. So first is my service access point. I will use my social networks on those existing providers or on this instance router because although I can operate them all on instance router, but you know I'm not very professional in writing UI, so the UI is very ugly. So from time to time I still go to all those existing service providers to play and interact with my first. But the thing is that I can get the data back in some way. First is some automatic flows from the service providers. For example, if you post something in your Google group, then it will automatically generate some ISS feed here. And secondly is some automatic timeline retrieval from those existing social networking services. I will constantly put in my own messages. And sometimes I will also go to my own instance router and update status to all of those platforms. Here, after collecting all this data, I have some aggregation. So I will put all my aggregated status here under this link. So from this feed, actually, you can get all my status. You can follow me on that ISS. Then you don't have to follow me on Facebook, then Twitter, and many different things. Okay, so here I can just give you some screenshots of the ISS feed. This is under the link. For example, I play on Sina Weibo like this. I forwarded one message with several comments. And here is what you can get from our command line interface. And this is what you can get using traditional ISS reader. So this approach is backward compatible. So for those who use SNS API, you can use SNS API to follow the feed. Then you can operate the data very easily. But for those who don't use it, it's okay. You can use traditional readers ISS readers to follow this feed. Here's the remarks that we implemented three citation models. And I want to remark that this is just one of the so many projects. It's worth to go there and check out what are other solutions. And here, I want to emphasize the programmable social networking. So someone give this short statement description. So this is like ICDD for programmers. And on this middleware, we also have other less geeky applications. There's the graphic user interface run all kinds of platforms from PC to Android. Okay, so I will skip some further details, jump to the conclusion. I think the spirit of IndieWeb camp is develop for yourself. And we face the reality, we adopt incremental approaches. We don't invent something from vacuum and nobody use it. I think the fundamental objective is even if there is no end user, but still this thing is useful for yourself. And I think this community is very open because the first time I go there, people show very high interest in my project. This thing I do not see anywhere because usually the open source world is like you develop some project and people find similar projects and you try very hard to articulate why my project is the best or why their project is not good. But on IndieWeb camp it's not the case. I think people very welcome different projects. There are some criticisms, but they will evolve into constructive discussions. Okay. And I want to emphasize that currently most of the participants are from US and Europe. So I really want to kick off the IndieWeb movement in Asia. Yeah. So I want to find more people to explore together. Okay. So let's see if you have any questions.
Can you show us the slide?
Which slide?
This slide. Do you have
yes, this is on my homepage. Because the Google slide link is might be long. It's a random string. So on my homepage here I already put a link here. Okay. So if you want to find further information, you can go to the slide and also contact me. I'm very willing to help you for all kinds of setup to say log in webcam or set up this kind of data forwarding mechanisms. Okay, any other questions? Okay, if not, thank you. You can find me offline.